You're watching ASOTUCon 2024, presented in collaboration with Reynolds and Gubagoo.
With us today, we're going to have Upstart. We're going to be talking about driving the connected retail evolution from clicks to bricks. Joining us is Erin Fallon. She is the manager of enterprise dealer success. And we also have Jeremy Nowling with us. He is the sales, digital, retailing, and implementation director for Rohrman Automotive. And I think you'll all know him. So we're looking forward to a great session. Take it away, Erin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anne-Marie. And welcome, everybody. Can everybody find a seat? There's some space in the back there. Just want to make sure. Okay. Welcome to our fireside chat. My name is Erin. I am from Upstart, and I'm so excited to be here with Jeremy from the Rohrman Automotive Group. So we're going to just chat a little bit. One of the questions we're going to start off with, this is always my favorite question to ask, auto people, is like the start of how you got into the business. Like myself, I was lucky I picked up a shift at Applebee's, and then or if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, most likely. So love to hear your story. How long have you been in the business? And if you could just share how you came to be with the Rohrman Automotive Group.
Came home from school and was washing cars one summer.
Okay.
And they got busy at an off-site sale, and it led to, I was in shorts and a t-shirt, and I sold 2 cars that day because they got super busy. And so I lucked into it that way. And from that point on, I've been in the business for 25 years. I've been delivering cars to houses ever since 23 years ago. I partnered with and built the Eli Lilly buying service for their employees and credit union, and from there it led into many different opportunities. So I've been with the same group for 25 years. Mm-hmm. I took a 1-year break and went down to Florida. And from that, it's been very good. It's led to, I'm now a professor as well. I volunteer and teach for semesters at Northwood University, which is the only automotive college in the country. And I help the kids understand innovation and technology and mm-hmm. process.
That's amazing. I know. So, now with the Rohrman Automotive Group, what is the size of the operation now that you're overseeing?
So I oversee 23 stores. Within those 23 stores, we have over 1,700 employees. I manage all the sales managers, sales reps, and do a lot of the training and huddles and preparation for lead providers and partners like yourself.
Wonderful. Awesome. So, with you've been in the business for a long time. So what are some of the challenges that you are seeing in the industry today, with particularly relating to online retailing or digital retailing? What are some of the trends you're seeing there?
Yeah. Lack of training, I would say, would be the number one. And so small audience, I love that, because then less people leave here knowing what they should do with digital retailing. And so I was in the desks at the days where anytime that a customer would call in wanting that payment, the manager's always rebuttal was, just get them in the door and I'll give them a payment. And those days have changed. They've evolved. We've now given the consumer the ability to drive what their payment potentially could be, the terms of the loan, the trade evaluation, products and F&I that they could look at, and an out-the-door figure. Those were all things that old school managers will say just didn't believe in doing. And now we have stores and people across this industry that they still don't understand the capacity of digital retailing and where all digital retailing tools lie. And if you go and take a poll, and I can say this with confidence because we recently did this, was what digital retailing tools do you have at your dealership? And some of the managers will look and they just don't know the answer to that. And then you would ask again, what for the sales reps, have you ever identified a true digital retailing lead? And what all sources do those digital retailing leads come from? And that was another question that couldn't be answered. But our biggest opportunity came from a $1,500 mistake that was made inside of one of the stores that I'm sure happens at stores across the country. And that was a consumer went online, they built out their entire deal, they got a trade evaluation, they submitted their credit app. And we were identifying some of the opportunities to train the individuals at this store. When we pulled this lead, we found that the sales rep fumbled the ball right out of the gate. he was able to reach out, tell the customer the vehicle was available, send out his video, all the things that we expect them to do. What he didn't do was acknowledge all the actions that that the consumer took online that he could have followed through with. So instead of him saying, hey, I can get you approved, can you give me your credit application? The customer already responded, actually, I already filled that out, you should have it. And that's one of the gains from some of the digital retailing tools that are out there. He went on to set the appointment. The customer comes in, they send him out on a test drive. He went and got the trade appraisal like he's supposed to. The manager then gets the deal prepared to desk, and they send out the first pencil. The first pencil, in this case, was the customer had an estimated value of $5,500. The sales manager appraised the vehicle at $7,000. The first pencil went out at $22,000 less $7,000. So the internet price less the ACV of the vehicle. The consumer, of course, immediately signed right up because we just gave them $1,500 more than what that estimated value was through KBB Online. So these are some of the things that you can consider taking back to your store. And there's any store in this whole group, I can bet you can go back and identify these mistakes that are happening inside of your showroom. But even worse, it's for your digital showroom, which is where 3/4 of everybody's consumers are at currently. And it's not only an Upstart that's a digital retailing tool on your website, but when you look at the auto traders, the cars.coms, and car gurus, they all now support digital retailing tools on their platforms. So you have the My Wallet leads that fall in and provide all the information. You have the digital deal and the digital hard pulls and soft pulls through car gurus. And then cars.com also has their DR tool. So if we don't educate our people, that's where we have a lot of underperformance when it comes to sold in timeframes and appointment setting. Because if we take the customer all the way back to the beginning of the process, we might as well just wait till they get there the first time and start all over.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like that experience was very impactful. And, you know, I always, thinking back to when I sold cars before there was digital retail was even a thing, believe it or not, but there was definitely the internet. And one of the disadvantages I always felt was that I never fully understood or knew what the customer knew. And these tools that are out there, not just Upstart, but just all the tools that we have at our disposal, you know, the sales associates, the sales managers, the finance managers really can use those as an advantage and not a disadvantage, more of a power, so to speak. So thank you for sharing that. So I know you've mentioned this to me before. You know, you said you're really passionate about this, that, you know, dealers need their DR providers to really step up when and how they can leverage, you know, can you elaborate a little bit on what you meant by this? Like, what do you mean by DR providers stepping up?
Well, I would say with any DR provider, whether it's the OEM or it's an Upstart or goodness, there's so many different DR tools that are out there. What are they doing for you? When was the last time you seen them? When was the last time your staff seen the DR provider? When was the last time they actually sat through a training with the DR provider? Are they dependent upon a sales manager who's newer to the business or is an old school manager that doesn't know how to even train on the DR tool? That would be the question to ask yourself, or go back to your stores and talk to your staff about. But then pick up the phone and ask your DR provider, when can you come out and do some training for me? And is that training going to be effective? And then how do you measure that? And that's what we've been able to master, I would say, at this point, is our relationship with Upstart is, what state do you live in? New York?
PA, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and David's in?
Seattle, Washington.
So it's no problem for me to reach out to my performance manager or to Aaron and say, hey, I'm rolling out a training at a store. When can you be here? And typically, it's usually just a few days later, they both fly into either Indiana or Illinois and come visit one of the locations. And then in addition to that, they have no problem sending either themselves or a local asset whenever we offer recharge trainings to our staff. And then taking it a step further to be able to give them a Loom access to record step-by-step what that training looks like for a consumer, for a manager, and what it looks like for the sales rep handling the opportunity to be able to upload into our LMS so we can immediately provide training to a new hire.
Can you tell everybody a little more about your recharge sessions? Because I think those are a great thing that you guys invest in for your team.
Yeah, so we believe in training, right? it's not always an individual that fails because he's not motivated or whatever it may be. But we feel that if we don't train them adequately and frequently, then we failed our individuals, and then we're failing our consumers. So our most recent one was a recharge session that I built the concept of speed dating. And so with the speed dating, we took the sales department, the parts department, and the service department, and we reached out to all of our assets within the tools that we utilize for our sales staff and our managers. And we had them come in and go through a 20-minute pitch on what is their product, what's the feature, what's the advantage, what's the benefit, how am I currently performing with this product, so that everybody's on the same page. How many processes in your store have changed since 2020? I mean, I would say that we've changed our processes, our tasks, even our staffing every 3 months. Not staff, but more the process and the task to align with the way that the industry is changing.
Thank you. Yeah. So one thing that I find is that, with the way that the industry is changing and we're finding things are correcting quite a bit, inventory is coming up, more OEMs offering incentives. How would you say that your team is leveraging Upstart and digital retailing as a way to set your group apart from the competition?
Yep. So one thing that I would say with the ability to drive the consumer to the digital retailing tool, it's helped us to be a little bit more efficient than the guy down the road. So think about it. A customer can only see your true digital retailing tool if they land on your website. If most of your leads come from third-party providers, they've never had access to that tool. So we've been able to work with a couple of other partners where I asked them to build out certain features within their product to automatically deliver the digital retailing packet to the consumer. So our first follow-up is very different from what anybody else's follow-up is. And it provides that customer the ability to go ahead and build their deal so that when that falls back into the CRM, I now have a more educated salesperson that can have better dialogue with the consumer to talk about those actions that they've been able to do. To answer your question, good?
Yeah, thank you. So kind of, you mentioned that you guys had that challenge or that experience where, you had the $1,500 loss and we learned from it. But like, what was maybe like the aha moment along the journey of like, hey, this is working, this process is right for us? Is there anything that you can think of that would have been like where the light bulb just went off and things started moving?
Well, the $1,500 for one, but I would say that more it was, okay, we need to put something together. And we reached out to you, we reached out to the Gurus team, and they didn't have an actual training. So what I did was I built the curriculum and the playbook for digital retail lead handling for working with you guys and working with Car Gurus. And that allowed us to truly put a measurement to how to manage a digital retailing opportunity. So what we've done now is dialed it down a little bit. In some stores, we've given full access because they're completely trained. But we give these opportunities because we think that this is more of a low funnel customer to those specific individuals. Because if they build the relationship based upon the terms and the conditions that the consumer built online, we can now walk them even further down the funnel because of the AI lending program. So if you're not familiar with DR, talk to Aaron, right? But like if you don't know what AI lending is and what Upstart has the ability to do, I highly encourage you to go talk to them, because we've all had a deal or a salesperson or a finance manager that gets backed up on a Saturday or a Thursday evening, and it takes us an hour and a half or so to get an approval from a lender. And we have to go back to the consumer and say, hey, sorry, I can't get you approved on this deal. With the AI lending platform, as long as the customer works the deal on the VDP, they can build in their credit application, choose their term, all that fun stuff. As soon as they get to the credit application and they fill that out, it immediately falls into Upstart's AI lending. Now the desk can immediately see the structured approval. Do I have something to work with? At the same time, it'll push into your Route 1 or your dealer track. So when it gets back to the finance manager, he has the ability to go ahead and make an educated decision on, do I send it to Upstart, who has phenomenal rates, I'll tell you that, and they have no chargebacks. Listen to this, no chargebacks past 60 days. Clap, right?
For now.
Right? So when you look at some of those
Crowd goes
advantages,
wild.
I'm able to be more efficient, providing an educated approval and decision for that consumer and the deal that I'm on, and get them in and out of the showroom quicker than wasting a salesperson or a consumer's time sitting them around for 90 minutes to 2 hours before a deal gets bought. Another advantage that we have currently is what happened during COVID? What happened in the years following? Our MSRPs, we were getting all the profit, right? Our used cars, we were getting all the money for them. So now we're in a market right now where consumers are very heavily upside down. Your lenders that you're currently working with, what are they maxed out at? 130%, 140, right? 185% LTV with a good consumer. What does that do for your volume?
Yeah, thank you so much. I do agree with that. I think one of the advantages we are seeing is the ability to help those customers. During COVID, there was not much of a choice. And, so some of them are now getting ready to get into something new. And, having that flexibility for your managers, not only to have the LTV, but also to still have the opportunity for the back end profitability, which we'll get to shortly, I think has been a huge advantage for our stores. I do want to go back a bit just to we didn't start off with the AI financing portion of things. That took some time. We built some integrations together. But when you guys were, looking to select a digital retail partner, before you selected Upstart, but what were some of the things you were looking for as a group, in a partnership with a digital retail provider?
Yeah, one of the main things would be our frustration on our last one. We'll just call it Roadrunner. Roadrunner was you had to log into different portals to look at the consumer's actions that they took online. We wanted the sales rep or the BDC coordinator to be able to look in one spot in the customer's notes and activity to see what all did the customer take. So that even with the finance manager who has access to the CRM, they can know if that consumer looked at products online. Did this customer put the warranty in? Did they take it off? Why did they take it off? Were they aware of the different opportunities of extended terms, right? Those were all things that we wanted to be able to look at. And then it came to the training aspect and the relationship side of it. There's nothing worse than having a good product and a poor performance manager. But I'm not just saying this because Aaron's up here or David's not here, but I would say that on that side of it, you can run into many different performance managers that you're currently working with that have hundreds of clients that they have to oversee. So the smaller, intimate, being able to pick up a phone and just call them and they actually answer and say, hey, look at this or what's going on here, and it gets done. Those were some of our solutions. You're right, AI lending was not available when we first signed up with you guys. Through our conversations with Sarah, we knew it was in the pipeline. We were just waiting for the states to regulate it so that we can go ahead and bring it into the Indiana and Illinois markets. And there were some other factors on why we signed, but I would say that those would be the top ones.
Absolutely. Your success is our success, and that is super important. So I want to go over, I know we're using the word AI a lot. Upstart's been in the AI space for quite some time. However, it's very new to the auto space, auto loans. And so one thing, one challenge sometimes I see is adoption or understanding. So, this being a very new concept for your team, what are some of the strategies that your group has implemented to adopt or embrace that AI is a help and not a hinder?
I would just say buy-in has to come from the top, and it's a trickle-down effect. So if the GM and the sales managers and the finance managers, they believe in the product and the process, then it's easier to train the staff. Who it's harder to train is the guy who's been selling cars for 15 years or 20 years. It's easy for me to hand my son a tablet and say, hey, go knock this out beginning to end, and they figure it out, and it's done just like that. If they get to the desk and there's an old school manager who hasn't bought into the process, it goes to here, I'm going to print you out a worksheet, let's work it this way. So I would say creating the process is super important. And it doesn't matter whether it's with DR or a walk-in or a phone up. If you don't have a process that's written down and defined and that you believe in, then it's just something else that somebody else is going to screw up. Let's just be honest. But I would say with the way that we did it, Most of the products that we've purchased, we tend to roll out at a group level. And with those, I'll create a process and a strategy prior to launching that product. With Upstart, it was a little bit more unique. It was, okay, this means something to most consumers at this time in the industry because, again, it was right around 21 when we signed up with them. So it was important to step up our game. So when we did a soft roll, we defined the process. How can we perfect it? Now let's go ahead and slowly roll it out in regions. And quite honestly, you guys were just up at one of the stores last week, right? Last week
Yep.
we met at Lafayette. And at that store, that was one of our, I'd say around the 15th store to jump on the AI lending platform. So I still don't have everybody launched, but we wanted to make sure that every person in the store understood the product and the process before we go launching it to everybody all at once, because then it becomes failure.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and I remember a couple weeks back we launched Fort Wayne Kia. They were Upstart's 100th lending dealer, which is very exciting for us. And now you guys are live in about 15 stores within Rohrman. I would love if you would not mind maybe just sharing some of the results. I know you've mentioned some of the benefits of the AI lending platform, but maybe if you could speak to some of the results you're seeing, for your team, for your profitability, if there's anything that you could share since implementing the AI lending portion.
Yeah, and just one last thing. DG is a group out in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. And this group actually helped Prodigy to become Upstart, somewhere along those lines. But they helped to develop the way that their website and the DR tool is functioning. And so to have it made by a very forward-thinking organization, that's what helps a product work inside of our industries, because they speak our language, they understand our processes. So I think that should be added to one of those prior questions.
Sure. Yeah.
As for success with your overall product, Dominic can pull it out of the bag, but I wanted to have factual numbers. So when I came up here, what we can identify is we measure our digital showroom customers as a whole. So the industry as a whole closes at 7 to 8% on internet opportunities. My Indiana stores close at 18 to 20% of their internet opportunities. Our Illinois stores close at 14 to 15% of their internet opportunities. When we have specific digital retailing leads, those customers, when they show up and they show in the showroom, we close those at 67% month to date currently right now. On total opportunities, we're closing those at 32 to 35%. So again, it doesn't matter to me if they just went to the website. I want to make sure every consumer gets the digital retailing packet before they come into the store. Because again, that's what's going to drive your overall KPIs. That's what's going to help to make the impact on whether or not that appointment shows up to the store. That's what's going to make the differences in that greeting of that consumer when they come into the dealership, that you know every single step that they took online. Challenge you, go back, look at your lead counts. You'll see that 3/4 of them are internet shoppers, and those are the ones that you want to be able to get into your showroom. Because right now, I just depend on the guy down the street messing it up and us running home with it.
People buy from who they like, so it's all about the way you treat your guests and what that experience is like. So the one thing, we implemented the stores, some of them are using the tablets and some are using, desktops, but it's that digital experience. And this is a saying that, I try to tell new salespeople embracing the new technology is that this may be the first time, you have to introduce the experience up front to a guest when they walk in, because it's new and they may have never bought a car, digitally and have that experience, but it won't be the last. And, to really sell the value to your guest of why this is going to create, it's going to be faster for them, it's going to be easier for them. And if they went online before, half of the experience is kind of already taken care of. They don't have to select a vehicle unless, they want to change their mind, or, maybe they have to just do a quick trade eval, but their credit application's there. So they're speeding up the process for themselves, saving them time, avoiding wasting time. So, that's always something I try to, remind this team of how they can be more efficient if they use the information wisely.
Yeah, and so with consumers, when you think about it, and I think that everybody's probably heard this line from a consumer is, I bought a house quicker than I'm buying a vehicle. And I think, again, we create that environment. So if you haven't switched and gone all digital with your documentations, the ability's there. And your current DR provider may have that ability. A lot of them don't, but some of them do. And what you can do is you can actually set time expectations based upon their product. So it has a funnel going down the left-hand side. What part of the process am I in? And when you get to those sales rep forms is what we call them, but those sales rep forms are all uploaded into Upstart's platform. So now we can get those digital signatures, upload them into our digital deal jackets, and there's no paper mess. The office isn't calling 2 weeks later saying, hey, where's this format? Or what happened to the trade appraisal? It's all in there, that nothing gets lost.
Yeah, there's a record for everything, which is nice. And another thing too, thinking about, from our perspective, with the AI lending, some of the benefits that I've heard from your finance team has been, the next day funding that's available. Has anyone mentioned that has alleviated some of the burden on your accounting team and paperwork on the back end? Any anecdotes you can speak to has come across in your world?
I think we all want the money in the bank quicker. It
Right.
helps us to acquire another asset. So
Sure.
And we can go ACH with many different lenders, but to have the product that the consumer initiated the deal with fund through the same digital retailing tool, it's pretty seamless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think back to that one customer that we had, that very first one, where the STIPs, so again, the AI lending, all of that auto verification that's taking place in the back end, and she almost had to bring her brand new car back, but thankfully Upstart came in and we were able to kind of save that deal. Can you talk about that a little bit, because that story gave me chills, just to see how happy she was as a consumer. But can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and you guys have the video. I don't care if you play it, but
You know what, we should run it.
we were rolling out the AI lending on that day at this store in a little bit of a challenged market, and the consumer had been in the vehicle for almost 3 weeks. So 3 weeks were already not being funding. This customer, they had to call the customer, hey, ma'am, I need you to bring the car back. Santander turned it down. We can't get the vehicle bought anywhere. She came into the store. She had her ride follow her to the store, so she was at least willing to bring the vehicle back. One, that's a plus. She walks into the store, and we said, hey, let's try one more thing, because I've seen deals with Upstart get bought as low as a 470, and that's pretty strong. Everybody in the world told the lady no. The banks didn't even want her riding in the car, and they're taking one more swing at it. So that's great, right? Again, no human on the other side of this. We didn't talk to anybody. They're not AI lenders. So what we did was we took the customer's application, we submitted it through Upstart. Upstart came back with an approval. The only steps on the deal was a paycheck stub and a driver's license. Santander usually makes you give a pint of blood and hair follicle, everything else to identify who you are, where you live, and all that. 7 references that won't call you back. A driver's license and a paycheck stub we had 3 weeks prior. We failed because we didn't launch their product at that store 3 weeks prior. So again, it provides that avenue for an approval for a consumer. And Upstart isn't just a one lender bank. Upstart has over 200 lenders underneath their umbrella that the AI uses the consumer information to shop and identify who's the best fit for this consumer. The customer will never see ABC loans on their bank contract or their statements. They'll only see Upstart Financial on that contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was. I was like almost in tears just to see how happy she was to be able to keep her car. I was so happy we were able to help her. So it was really nice.
Play that video somewhere.
I know.
Great.
Yeah, we should have brought that. But yeah. So just as we wrap up here, Jeremy, I know this is going to be AI lending is going to be a big part of your future with the Rohrman Automotive Group. But what do you see, what do you think is going to happen in the future? What are the trends you're seeing from a consumer needs perspective, and where can we grow, as an industry?
Speed and efficiency. That's one thing that we're not going to take away. The consumer's ability to shop on a tablet, not just for a vehicle, but for a home, for a product, through Amazon, through whatever you want to buy, you can buy on a tablet. So why do we still continue to be the last ones to the game and still sending out a Sharpie on a worksheet and then having them sign 13 different documents and having them wait for 2 to 3 hours in the showroom while we work on an approval and get the car ready and get the customer out the door? When we have the ability, we can actually deliver a consumer within 15 minutes. And so if you have a solid process from the point of yes, we can and have and do deliver a vehicle within 15 minutes of a customer saying yes. So why not make that change? Because one thing that's not going to happen is the market is not going to go back to the way it used to be. And I would challenge you to run through that process with Erin, and she can show you very simply how quickly the customer says yes to a deal, and then you scan the driver's license, scan the insurance card, complete the documents, and you already have the approval through Upstart AI lending. Why wouldn't you do it?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for attending. We, I think, have a bit of time for questions. So does anybody have any questions? Anyone? Bueller?
Perfect. Good deal. Thank you, guys.
We answered all of them. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone. If anyone does have any questions afterwards, feel free to connect with Erin in the app. You can send her questions. I'm sure she would love and appreciate it.